all I have. I went a little bit over, but now I want to introduce our guest speaker for today, who you heard speak earlier. Dr. Ed Garrett, he's a program coordinator, Bachelor of Science of Sport and Performance Psychology, and he's Associate Professor of Kinesiology at California Baptist University, and he's here to discuss plentiful opportunities from CBU, his work in sports psychology and performance, and his roles and responsibilities. So let's give him a huge welcome. Yay! So good to see you here, Dr. Garrett. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen so that you're able to share yours. I know you have a presentation you wanted to share, right?
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, we'll see how it progresses here. First and foremost, thank you for having me. I love the field of psychology. I love what I do. I'm putting my cell phone number, my email address. It's in the chat right now because there's typically always questions afterwards. People go, hey, I want to know more about this or just curious about this. I'm more than happy to help. Now, I'll be the first and foremost to say I'm not here to pitch CBU, guys. If CBU is a place you want to go, UCI, wherever you want to go. I think the two most important days in your life are the day you were born and the day you figured out why. Think about that for a minute. So if that's the case, you guys are taking an academic journey, okay, heading in a direction that you want to go. God bless it. Do it, whatever it might be. It doesn't have to be athletics. That just happens to be the field that I'm in that I'm going to talk about. But whatever you're passionate about, we are in a serving industry. And if you don't have a passion for helping people, you might want to change your degree. Because in the field of psychology, we're about impacting lives. And the world of athletics is just one small piece of that. So whatever you're interested in, pursue that. Yes, this pandemic, the wonderful thing that has actually come from the pandemic, if I can say this, we've all been given a dose of empathy. We all know that we all have one of these little crack boxes. You know what I'm talking about? These little things right here. And my Apple, they're always good at reminding me where I was 15 years ago and all that kind of stuff. And 2 years ago, sure enough, back, the end of March, I was here with my 4 children, my beautiful bride, and we were stuck at home. And I built a golf course in the front yard and the backyard. That was the extent of our athletic experience we could have, and we had to make it work. And all of us in this room, what's really cool is we now know what that feels like. Well, our clients that we're going to be working with know what that feels like. Empathy is a wonderful tool within the field of psychology, guys. Listen to me, students, because if those clients understand that we understand, then they'll listen to us. Okay? They'll listen to us. They'll trust us, which is what we try to build within the field of psychology. So, really think about what that, what you want to do with your life and where you want to go and what impact you want to make and that calling that you have. Okay, and utilize that. Today, I've been offered the opportunity to come talk about sport and performance psychology. My title has actually changed. I am now an associate professor of sport and performance psychology. I now am housed in the College of Behavioral and Social Sciences. We have started a bachelor's, which is fully online right now, which is kind of cool. And it is picking up steam. We're looking to bring it on campus. And then we also have a master's program that is very applied. If you like getting dirty, then this is a program you might be interested in. And then obviously pursuing a doctorate is one of those things as well. If we're going to be in this field, a master's is a minimum. If you want to be in social work, psychology, sports psychology, whatever the field might be, definitely pursuing that. Doctorate just opens doors. Yes, you gain a lot of information. Yes, you gain some good knowledge, some research applied to that. But man, it opens doors, especially if you want to be in the world of academia or if you want to be in the world of a professional realm. It definitely opens doors, and I can share more about that later. But in the world of athletics, this isn't what I wanted to do. This is not what I wanted to do. I wanted to coach. I got a physical education degree from Point Loma Nazarene University way back in the 90s, and I wanted to coach. But I took one class in physical education, this crazy little class called Sport and Performance Psychology. It actually wasn't even performance, it was just sports psychology. I still have the textbook sitting right here, okay? And I still refer to it. There wasn't many at the time, and it still was fairly, even though sports psychology is not really a new field, it isn't. If you research it, it goes back quite a ways. But it's gaining more popularity because coaches of any level understand the power of the mind. And coaches don't have time, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, to do what we do. That's why they welcome us. If you think about it, 10 years ago, those of you guys that mentioned you were in athletics at all, okay, anywhere, somewhere in the realm, okay, 10 years ago, we didn't have strength and conditioning coaches. Now every high school across the United States has one. Fast forward 10 years from now, you're going to have sports psychologists or cognitive coaches at every high school, not just collegiately, because they understand the power of the mind. And especially now that mental health has become such a massive buzzword. Okay, it is now a liability. So being able to provide individuals like myself sometimes becomes a nice little box checked by the athletic department. Like, yeah, we're covering this avenue as well. We're working on the mental health. But it wasn't something I wanted to jump in and do. But I knew when I took that course that if I ever was going to get a doctorate, that's what I was going to jump into. So here's what's really cool about it. You guys ready for this? I get paid to watch ESPN every day. Come on, where's my snaps? Okay, come on. Life is not bad. Okay, from that standpoint. Now, I say that tongue in cheek, okay? But as a behavioralist, as somebody that loves to observe, I've got to be watching what's going on. What are the trends within athletics that are taking place collegiately, professionally? What are things that my clients are going to be approaching me about? I want to make sure I have a good understanding of that. You need to be a student of your students. Okay, so understand whatever realm you're going into, be a student of your students. What are your clients coming to you with? Make sure you're getting into research. What's going on? Make sure you guys are joining. This is a great organization, but I will even take it that next step further. What professional organizations out there are you guys jumping into? Hopefully you guys are. Is it APA? Okay, is it the American Psychological Association, which yours truly will be speaking at in Minnesota, if you guys want to come listen to me. And I'll share more about that. But, what organizations, what networking are you guys doing? There is so much to the statement. It's not what you know, it's who you know. Yeah, you're getting an education. Yeah, you're getting the what you know. Don't burn any bridges with professors. You're going to need my recommendation. And if you didn't pass my class, or you always late, or I didn't see you on my screen, and I'm going to remember those things. Okay. So make sure you're making nice with your professors. Make sure you're making nice with the people you work and you volunteer with, because you just don't know what doors they're going to open for you. Okay. Where they're going to allow you to come in and do your residency and do which you just don't know. You just don't know. Okay. But hopefully you guys are jumping into a field that you really love. Now here, like I said, this isn't what I wanted to do, but through coaching, through athletics, I spent 30 years within the athletic realm. I've been blessed to do a lot of different levels, which have given me the real world experience. We can all get into these wonderful textbooks, and we can all read them. Okay. And there's some good stuff. Don't get me wrong. There's great stuff in these textbooks. And I want you to get in your textbook. I want you to listen to your lectures, but I also want you to get your hands dirty. Get out there and observe and understand and grow and figure things out, not just and holistically. Okay. Not just in your field, but in life. Okay. So 30 years of understanding and working with teams, team dynamic. And here's what's really cool about it. Within the field of sport and performance psychology, it is not just about athletics. I'm currently working with Loma Linda Medical University in the Children's Hospital right now. Why? Because doctors perform. And I know what you're sitting there going and saying, really? Sports psychology, medical doctor, not getting the connection. Dr. G, help me out. Okay. Throw me a bone. Again, I don't know about you, but if I'm going under the knife, I want to make sure that MD is up to par. Okay. And I'm not talking about spending a lot of time on the golf course. I'm talking about understanding how to perform. Okay. You understand what I'm saying? I heard somebody talk about dancing. I've got 2 clients right now that are ballet dancers, one in Kansas City, one in Florida. Okay. In companies. Okay. One of my students in my capstone right now for my bachelor's program is looking at injury within ballet dancers and the cognitive stress, acute stress is associated with a lot of that. And we're finding she had 176 individuals, dancers, take her survey. Talk about a sample size. And a lot of the data we're getting right now is that from the ballet. Now, I'm not a ballet dancer. Okay. I can cut a rug. I took breakdancing lessons, but that's about it. I'm old now. Okay. My breakdancing lessons is breaking a hip, but outside of that, but understanding And we talked about this a little bit. A lot of athletes don't want to mention and don't want to talk about when they're injured. And the mental health that we're seeing, the mental health that is needed within the field of ballet, just pushing. I mean, think about just the culture of ballet, body image. I mean, they stare at a mirror all day long. Think about the cognitive pressure associated with that. And then the competition and it's just everything that's associated with that. And it's an international experience. It just the ballet field is coming forward and they're saying, hey, we need performance psychologists with us. So it's not just about athletics. The military, guys, the military is one of the largest hirers of sport and performance psychologists because they understand that it's less expensive to bring in a Dr. G and put me on contract than it is to bring in 1,000 new recruits and try again. The government gets it. And we're starting to see from not just the Power Fives of the world, not just the Alabamas, the UCLAs, and the USCs of the world. We're starting to see a lot of the mid-majors now understanding this. We're seeing the D2s, the D3s, the NAIs, the JCs are starting to see the importance of cognitive health, mental performance. And again, like I said, we didn't have strength and conditioning coaches 10, 15 years ago. We do now. And most universities are wising up and they're realizing, hey, we need some cognitive help. And so you're going to start seeing more and more universities, even at the JC level. Orange Coast, you guys have been around forever. Everybody knows about Orange Coast in the area. Okay? Just a matter of time. Trust me. I guarantee you, your athletic director is already thinking about it because it's the number one topic brought up at NCAA conventions is mental health. The number one topic. So people are talking about it. So what I do on a regular basis within sport performance psychology, here's what I want to do. I do have a little PowerPoint. I'm not going to bring it up. And here's why. I want to throw some nuggets out there and then I want to answer questions. I want to engage. Okay. So we're not talking about just athletics. We're talking about cognitive health. We're talking about how we can help people where they are. And I use a vessel of sports to connect, to develop that empathy. Okay. So my day, I'm a full-time professor, about ready to be full professor. Oh, I went through the process. I should hear by the end of April. Oh, I'm hoping. Okay. Which is kind of cool. That's the I Ching. That's the end right there. But I teach a full load. I spend a lot of time with athletes. Through the pandemic, I've done a lot of telehealth. Okay. At CBU, we have been on campus since the fall. I know JCs are not. Okay. And that's across the board. Hopefully we'll get you guys there. I really want to get you guys back in the classroom. Trust me, your professors miss it. We really do. And hopefully we get you back. But, telehealth has become a real thing within psychology. If they can't come into the office, they can't meet you, across on the couch. I'm doing a lot of sessions. I average probably about 40 one-on-ones per month on top of teaching full-time, on top of 4 children and a beautiful bride. Okay. The demand has increased and now it's become a staple at CBU. Now they know they can reach out to Dr. G, and I only oversee 6 programs. We don't have enough bodies to fill up the rest of the programs. We're kind of piecemealing them together. So I spend a lot of time with that. I do a lot of speaking engagements. I do a lot of traveling. So highly involved. I try to do as much research as I can. A lot of times I'm just busy. I'm definitely more of the qualitative than quantitative kind of person. I like to get to the phenomenological research is really where I like to study a lot of my stuff, that lived experience that teams experience. But within the field of sport and performance psychology, like I said, we're starting to see a lot of individuals on the outside of athletics appreciate and approach this. We're seeing CEOs and corporations bringing in sports psychologists or cognitive coaches. Don't they have teams where they work? Amazon. Isn't Amazon just one big team? Okay. Amazon wants to make money just like any other corporation. Dr. G, can I bring you in and start working with, the employees and help them cognitively understand how to enhance their performance, how to view things, covering such things as, self-talk, a lot of confidence issues, a lot of motivational issues, a lot of coping skills, whether it's emotion or focus-based or problem focus coping. I mean, a lot of addressing that, getting all the way down to simplistic nature of goal setting. A lot of people don't know how to set goals. They really don't, whether it's outcome or performance, or they don't know how to set goals. And so there is a lack of motivation. I like to say all the time, controlling the controllables. It's hard for us to control the controllables. And then we deal with change. Anybody gone through change in the last 2 years? Oh my goodness, everybody's hand. Yeah, everybody's hand. We've all gone through change. And here's the challenge with change, my students. It's not that we don't like change. It's that we don't like being forced to change. That's really the struggle we've had as a society. You know, my son's going to Mississippi State University. He's working with the Air Force ROTC up there. He wants to go into the Air Force. And so I'm a big baseball guy. And I remember March 20th, Mississippi State had flown out and they were playing Long Beach. And so we drove down to Long Beach to watch the games. And no more sooner, I mean, did they leave to go back to Mississippi and the world shut down? We couldn't go watch our sporting events. I mean, everything stopped. And so this difficulty of change is something, again, like I said, is empathetic in nature that we can use with our clients. Can I give you guys can I give you guys a tangible? I want you guys to take something away today, okay? Here's what I want you to do. I want you to put your hands together just like this. Put your hands together. Now, if we're talking to our clients, we're working in groups, let's talk about change. Let's talk about the stress associated with change. Change is inevitable. But if you look at your hands, this is how you're going to use this in your practice. Okay, this is my free gift to you. I probably need to trademark this, and I haven't. I'm sorry. So your thumbs. Look at your thumbs. You either got your left thumb of your right thumb, or your right thumb of your left. Maybe you're church and steeple, but this is you, Julia. This is you. That's you. That's it. That's you. Okay. This is pre-pandemic. This is pre-trauma. This is pre-stressful situation in our lives, whatever that might be. And here's how we simulate that. You ready? Switch it. Switch your fingers. Move them in a different direction and hold it. Now, I know we're muted, but this is typically in class where I go, give me some adjectives. Icky. Yeah, I'm looking at some of your faces. Okay, you look like you're going to pass out. Okay, this is just not normal, Dr. G. All of you guys right now are looking at me going, please tell him to just have us stop this. Okay. But it's what would happen over the course of time if we kept our hands this way? We'd get used to it. Now, Julia's already done. She's already thrown her hands down. She's like, I'm done. Okay.
No, I was saying you would get comfortable.
Exactly.
You would get comfortable, but I was muted. But yeah.
No, which is great, which is okay. And I'm not picking on you. Well, yeah, I am. I'm picking on you. Okay. I love engaging my students. But okay, you can let go of your hands. You can let go of your hands. All of you going, thank you. But it's a good tangible takeaway when we're talking with our clients and working with our clients and they go, I'm stressed out about the change happening. Really? Let's find an application for it. Just do that. And then when we're working with our clients, you go, okay, give me some adjectives. Let's talk about how you feel right now. Let's talk about the process you're going through. Now, if you kept your hands here long enough, what would happen? Well, naturally, we would get used to it and the change wouldn't bother us as much. Can we come back to the way we were? Yes, but that's a whole nother topic for another day. Okay. But yeah, over the course of time, it's going to be okay. So I want you to chalk that one up. If you didn't take notes, hopefully my students, you took notes. Okay. Hopefully you were able to go, I'm going to remember that one. That's my free gift for you. When you're dealing with clients and you're dealing with change, because again, we're trying to draw our clients in so that they know we understand. It's the trust that we're trying to communicate. It's the trust we're trying to build within that relationship, that client-patient relationship or that client-consultant relationship. So I love using this within athletics because change is inevitable. I'm working with a CBU softball program, which is one of the teams I work with. Can we control the weather? No. But how easy does that weather, that situation, that negative, can we control the umpire? No. But we allow those extrinsic to control the intrinsics. And that's what I spend a lot of my time dealing with. How we allow the stress of, homework, the life of a D1 athlete, guys. Part of me is thankful I never made it to the D1 level because that's stressful. Okay. But just thinking about that, I know somebody mentioned karate. I was working with a Taekwondo athlete. Okay. This individual was highly ranked, okay, within the Olympic venue of Taekwondo, and we were dealing with a little bit of self-doubt. So we had some self-talk that we were working through. We were working through some imagery as well. Okay. So, I mean, all gamuts of sports are going to deal with some of those lack of control or uncontrollables, or really worrying about how we can control the controllables. But it still comes down to change. And the way we view things is that glass half empty or half full. So it's a wonderful growing profession. Now, where are we headed as a profession? Okay. That's also the question we get. Where are we headed? Well, I'd love to say that all of you guys that are struggling with anything sports psychology related can just run down to the local clinic and get your help. Doesn't exist. Doesn't exist right now. Now, where we're seeing things progress are typically in two realms. You either go the academia realm, where you end up becoming a professor, or you work within college, and then you attach yourself to the athletic department. You let them know who you are and you want to serve in that field, or you go the private practice route. That's another avenue as well. Now, either direction, listen to me, my students, either direction takes a high level of entrepreneurship, because we just don't have the field placement yet. Now, I'm starting to build contacts within the PT, the physical therapy community, and I'm getting more and more PTs, directors of clinics, that are going, Dr. G, do you have a student that wants to come in and maybe help with the cognitive with the client before they start PT? Here's an interesting research. Listen to me. I'm throwing you a bone. Maybe working with a physical therapy center on the cognitive of recovery, can we improve that client's recovery? Can they improve their rate of recovery? Because they're not just doing with the kinesthetic, they're now dealing with the cognitive as well. So put it in a realm of a future career. The client comes in and meets with you for 20 minutes, and you go over whatever it is cognitively we're working on. Okay. And now that client leaves and they spend the next 40 minutes, because it's an hour session, working with the PT. I would venture to say, and with the number of PTs I've talked to, they would love that, because chances are they're going to rehab faster. They're going to feel better about their rehab. Just saying. Any of you guys want to go on Shark Tank and sell that, you guys go right ahead. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's a possible future career, but that's, I think, where we're going to get to. Okay. Now, when I lived back in Mississippi, I was in Mississippi for 4 years, lived in the SEC world. SEC, that's athletics. That's athletics on steroids is what that is. More and more clinics out there exist. Sports physical therapy clinics exist in the South. It was wonderful to see. And prior to me coming back home to California, there were a lot of individuals that were interested in going, how can we bring someone like you in? So I know there's avenue. If any of you guys are sitting there going, I never thought of sports psychology. There's avenues to go into. But it's been a wonderful journey. But those are the two main areas that we're starting to see growth in. Let me pause. I'm a professor and I can listen to myself talk all day long, guys. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to open it up. Are there questions related to maybe something I shared, something you've seen, something you've heard, the career itself? Maybe even just a general question of, hey, how do I graduate? Okay. That I can help you with. So anything, anybody?
I do have a question.
Yeah.
And it's take from it what you will.
Mm-hmm.
But it just came up in my mind a few times. And so let me try and formulate this. I hope it's not confusing, but if someone brings you in, or what would your thoughts be on this scenario? Let me put this together.
Yeah.
We've learned about in Dr. Ferguson's class, right, that there's areas of the brain, and I can't remember which area it is, that something is not developed. Maybe it's the prefrontal cortex, maybe it's something for a certain age, and maybe risk assessment isn't as robust and developed as it would be later in life. And they're not maybe realizing that if they subject their bodies to something that might be good for the short-term goal, whatever it is, or might be if a client of yours was a coach or an Olympic sports coach and said, oh, I want them to be able to do this, knowing that in the short term, it's going to be good, but in the long term, it might be not as good. And we can define that however we want. But I would want to know what you would think about that. That was so jumbled, but did you kind of like catch it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. A majority of my clients are collegiate, so you're looking at a 4-year stint. And we do have a few that obviously you look at the major sports like baseball, basketball, football, golf, sports where there is a next level in a vast majority. I mean, sure, there's others. There's also, hockey as well. But I mean, you're looking at most major universities across the United States. Hockey's primarily, a lot of it's pretty much north, but you do have those avenues where I'm trying to think here a little bit. Let me clear my throat. I'm thinking of that individual because it's a good question. I was in the dugout today for softball, and I was talking to a junior, and she was mentioning how she wasn't taking BP today because her shoulder hurt, and they're still trying to diagnose what's really going on. Now, the short term is she can finish out the season because she was called to be a softball player. I mean, it's her identity, and identity is one of the issues we deal with within sport and performance psychology. But I paused real quick, and I'll just call her Kate for sake of, obviously confidential, but for sake of argument, I'll just call her Kate. And I looked at Kate and I said, here's something you want to ponder, because she was so wanting to work to get back. And I said, something you need to think about from the long term, kind of like what you talked about. Do you want to pick your grandkids up when you're 60? And you saw the light bulb kind of go off. And not that because I never, here's the challenge. I never want to be the one that is advising the athlete to hang it up. Okay. That's not my call. If I'm doing my job within motivational interviewing or just my conversation, I want the athlete to feel like he or she are in control of the choices they make. That's where the power and the motivation will come from. And so with this individual athlete, I've had multiple sessions. I've had a relationship as far as met her from a freshman, sophomore. Now she's a junior. So the trust is there, but trying to help them understand and look at things differently, just like you're mentioning, trying to view things differently from a different perspective. The challenge, frontal cortex, ladies in this group, that's why as men, we're still goofy to 25. That's why. Okay, that frontal cortex just hasn't developed fully. Okay, and so that's obviously maturity. We all mature different. That's again, I'm tanging that we get on a different subject, but yeah, it just hasn't fully developed. But having them take a look at things, really where their value lies, where their role exists, what they want to accomplish in life, understanding for most of them that athletics, it's going to open a door, but it's a snapshot. It's a snapshot. And what values can we pull from that athletic experience? Team building. I mean, Devin was even kind of talking, leadership, team building. There are a lot of positive attributes that come from athletics that will be taken into life and utilized. I've still dealt with a lot of individuals that look at me as if I'm talking a different language, like you have no clue. And they're the diehards that go into sports that they're gonna, and I don't mean literally, but follow me. They're gonna die in their sport. I mean, they're gonna give everything they have to their sport, mostly because that is their identity, and that's unfortunately rewiring the brain from that standpoint a challenge, because they've always been told they're the best. They've always been told when they walk in, dad introduces them, "Hey, this is my star baseball player right here." Not as the son. This is my next Major League Baseball player right here. You look at the whole Ball family of Los Angeles Lakers. That's a wonderful case study. Oh my goodness, that was fun to watch and pack. The whole thing of how the father kind of navigate. And again, it's just athletics are just so interesting to observe. So I know that's kind of a roundabout. I hope I even kind of glazed the question. it's different for each athlete. Every athlete's going to get to a grieving point. They're going to get to a grieving point where they realize part of them is dying. And I still deal with a lot of clients that have graduated, moved on, and they contact me. They still call me, especially during peak season, during championship. And they're not in the pool. They're not on the floor. They're not doing this. And Dr. G, I feel like a piece of me's died. And so it's really trying to help them move on through that. Now, again, we can go through the 7 levels of grieving and all that kind of stuff. Eventually, they got to get to the point where acceptance is there. They got to understand that their role has changed. But through it all, situations does not define us. How we go through situations is what defines us. And so if you can help them understand that they are not the situation, they've got to learn to move through the situation. It brings a greater sense of understanding and appreciation. And then hopefully, yes, it's a great question. They get to that point where they realize that the sport doesn't define me, that I can utilize the strengths of this sport. I love this game, but I can move past it. I can get to a point where there's greater things than just this. So good question. It's a challenge. All of them are different. I can't give you a stereotype. Every situation is different in the way they approach it. A lot of it's their upbringing. There's a lot of baggage that comes into the equation too, that you spend time consulting and working through. So I wish there was a magic pill. Wish there was a pill, but there's not. So, good question. Anything else? I wowed you. Yeah, Julie, yeah, go.
Well, kind of. It's also to better understand also Marcheska's thought process. What what age group are you thinking of when you have that question in mind? Like, is there a specific age group from, when you put your little kids into sports and you're forcing them into trying everything, or, because growing up, I got to choose whatever I wanted to do. I was asked, well, what do you want to try? Yeah. So I know not everyone gets that when, it comes time to play sports, or if they even want to play sports, or if music is something they want to do. So I was just curious as to what age group you were focusing on when you're thinking about your questions or your perspective, because I think that also has a lot to do with it as well. Because, when you're a little kid, you're just, oh, it's fun. I want to do this. You're just, doing it for the love of it. And I think over time, sometimes that evolves, but a lot of times, at least for me, soccer, I played it for all those years because I genuinely loved the sport. It was so much fun for me. And it wasn't an aggressive outlet or anything. It was more it was just a game. It was just fun, and it made me happy. I loved being outside. It was an excuse to be out of the house, away from my family. And it was wonderful. It was a wonderful thing for me. So I was just wondering what you were thinking with that.
It's a good question. For me, there's populations age-wise I won't work with.
Yeah.
So for males, for young boys, I typically don't do anything below 16.
Okay.
Cognitively, they're not there.
Yeah.
They're still talking about boogers. They're still goofy. The attention span is here, know. And so it's just not productive. And I let the parents know that. Yeah. Female athletes are a little different. I've worked with 15-year-olds and they've been just fine. Yeah. It's interesting in the world of sports. So my youngest son, he's an 8th grader. He's 13. He's sitting in the other room and he has a soccer ball just right below his feet while he's doing homework. He's a goalkeeper. He's a great example of an individual not pushed by me. I'm very supportive. Even though I'm athletic background, I've always been the one going, hey, we're going to go through the season. If you want to quit after the season, that's up to you. That's totally fine. We don't quit in the season. You're committed to something, and there's value in following through with that. And so we teach those life lessons. But in the athletes I've studied, they kind of go through 3 different progressions. And the first one is that kind of having fun athlete stage. We do it because our friends, do it. So it's something fun to do. Then they progress to that middle stage where they're almost like the light bulb got turned on. It's almost like they're doing it now more for self. Yes, the team, but more for self. The interesting one is that 3rd level where sports have become oxygen. And that individual won't stop everything they do. I would not be surprised to see my son take his soccer ball and sleep with it. It's become oxygen for him, in a small way. Now, he tried out for long jump today. I'm dying to go talk to him and see how he did. He's not a runner. I'm not a runner. I only run when I'm being chased, but I mean, we're just not a running family, which is probably why he's a goalkeeper, but from that standpoint, but I give him that opportunity to make that decision as what he wants to do. I don't see him getting rid of soccer because soccer has become oxygen. He wants private lessons. He wants club ball. He wants middle school. He wants dad to shoot with him, that kind of stuff. So all athletes kind of progress through those 3 stages where we love it. It's kind of like when you go to Cold Stone Creamery. They've got the what is it? The like it, the love it, and the, oh my goodness, you're gaining weight today. You know what I'm talking about? Those 3 stages. So it's those 3 kind of sizes that the athletes go through. When they get to the collegiate level, a vast majority of them, I won't say all of them. We have athletes that just want to wear the uniform too. Okay. Yeah. But a vast majority of them are at that stage where it's a portion of oxygen. Sometimes they get to that level of the game where they don't like it and they realize it's not the same breath they used to take. And so they progress a different direction. Again, I want the athlete to decide that. That's nothing I tell them. I want them to come to that answer so they feel empowered. But for me, long-winded answer, yeah, I find even at the high school level, the female mind grasps the concepts we're going through greater than the male mind. Mm-hmm. A lot of it does have to do with the maturity level. Okay. But I share that with my grad students as well. It's like, you got to determine what area you want to go to. Maybe you're really gifted to work with a 13-year-old boy. God bless it. I've tried it. I can't get to him. I can't reach that mind. It drives me crazy.
I coached U14 girls when I was 18.
Ooh.
And that was hard. I was the same height as all of them and everything. So it's the motivation, finding what motivates the player is always interesting. So that, and at the same time, U7 boys. So it's funny because they were better at following directions than the girls, which was funny.
Do this. Look up the DISC assessment, everybody. Look up the DISC assessment. We're used to Myers-Briggs, Big Five, Enneagrams, all that kind of stuff. I want you to write it down, and after we're done, I want you to look up the DISC assessment. It was an assessment that was never copywritten, unfortunately, back in the 1920s, so it has different applications. But I utilize the DISC assessment in a lot of my counseling. In a lot of my team structure. It breaks it down to the D, I, S, or C. Again, not anything against any of the other ones, but some of them get very complex. And you bring up, U14s. I used to work with a U15, for lack of a better term, in the world of volleyball. And so, and they were the 15 threes. So if you understand volleyball in the way that 15 ones, man, they're the best of the best. 15 twos want to be the 15 ones. 15 threes, it's called organized babysitting. You're just trying to it's like herding cats, is what it is. And so you're trying to help them. And so I actually use the DISC to understand. It's not a personality assessment. It is a behavioral assessment, a behavioral tool dealing with the adaptive and natural styles. We all have adaptive and natural styles, and I love utilizing that tool, especially when it comes to teams. So I'm not going to unpack that too much. I think it's my cross to bear. I just want to throw it out there as far as I want you to explore the DISC, okay? And already look at it. There's tons of websites. But look it up, see how it might fit in your practice. I don't think it's given enough time of the day. I think we go straight to Myers-Briggs or Enneagrams or Big Five. I think those are the 3 that we throw at. The DISC is pretty interesting. It serves, listen to me, it serves as a wonderful empathy tool. I use this with the medical students at Loma Linda. And it doesn't matter. I'm looking at our cultural background of the images I have here. It doesn't matter where you came from. An S is an S. Doesn't matter your gender. An S is an S. And it's really interesting. I'm looking at Nancy and myself, 2 completely different people. But if we were both S's, we could start to empathize because we understand the way we behave, the thought process behind the way we behave. And we start to bridge that gap of lack of understanding because we're 2 different people. No. It's a wonderful diversity tool to kind of go, wow, you think the same way I think. That's pretty cool. And now we understand the other levels. Now we can appreciate the levels. So take a look at DISC. It's a wonderful assessment, especially if you're working with U14s. So you definitely do. Great question. Any other question?
have one.
Yeah, go for it.
Thank you for the talk as well. That was great.
Yeah.
So for an athlete, just super general and like top contour, if they were to go to a sports psychologist versus a, say, regular, clinical psychologist, what would the differences be in the treatment approach? Just very generally speaking.
Great question. And here's what you're going to see, guys. Here's what you're going to see. We have a counseling center on campus at CBU, just like most universities do. Okay, they've got counseling centers and general psych. Students trying to get their licensure and all that kind of stuff. The one thing I've heard from the director, their greatest challenge they have in the populations they reach, the two populations they struggle the most with reaching, military and athletics, because they can't speak the language. Athletics becomes a universal language when I'm working with athletes. And so that alone right there gravitates them towards me. Now, if you think I deal with just swinging a bat and the thought process behind that, you're wrong. I deal with parents getting divorced. I deal with people struggling with suicide. I deal with, anything's on the table. They just approach me because we've developed that relationship on a common bond of sport. And so I can speak that coach language, which is why I tell my athletes all the time, do not call me a sports psychologist. I'm a mental performance coach. If you use the term coach, they understand that language. Okay. Now, as far as what applications I use, it really depends on the client. I definitely go into goal setting. That's one of the areas I focus on. The way I approach it, it's more applied. In a general psych session, you're going to sit down for 45 minutes, 50 minutes and talk. A lot of it. There may be some application. There may be some tools given out, but a lot of it's probably just going to be more therapeutic in nature. Let's talk about the feelings. Let's get things out. Though I do that to some extent, and there are sessions where I spend time doing that, a lot of it's just more, what are the applications we can use to enhance performance? So whether it's goal setting, whether it's imagery, whether it's positive self-talk, I've developed some sheets that I use on focus rubrics and for athletics and, trying to find new ways of looking at things and viewing things within athletics. How we can overcome adversity, definitely on the acute stress side, a lot of motivation. Trying to find small tangible tools and applications that the athletes can take away from. But keep in mind the difference that my field has over just a general psych. I'm going to be in a dugout and coach is going to go, hey, Dr. G, where are you? Go see Dr. G right now during the game. And I've got 2 minutes, 3 minutes in something I call guerrilla warfare sports psychology. We're in the trenches. We're in battle. I've got to find a way, to help my soldier, for lack of a better term, continue to keep on fighting. And so it's fun. I love just I feel like an athletic trainer. I feel like I need that belt, with athletic tape over here and scissors over here, and we just got to take care of things, because you'll deal in the trenches with athletes that I don't want to say need a quick fix, because that's not true. A lot of times, if I've done my preload job, I've shared with the athletes what they need to do. 99% of the time, it's a matter of recognition. Do I recognize in the moment that I need to make this thought? Or I also deal, again, topic for another discussion, I deal a lot with neuro-linguistic programming. And I love the application of that, developing an anchor. We'll develop anchors all the time. Does the athlete know where that anchor needs to be applied? I deal with meditation. Do we really truly utilize breathing as a relaxation, as a meditation tool? Most athletes don't understand that. Can we take 2 or 3 breaths, step out of the batter's box, take 2 or 3 breaths? So, because understand, I share with the athletes, look, when you're stressed and going, your cognition's out the window. You don't have clarity of thought. Let's slow things down. Step out of the box. 2 breaths. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Find your focus. Maybe it's affirmation. Maybe it's an anchor. Get back in the box and go. So the applications are similar in the sense that I develop a toolbox. So we know what to do. It's just a matter of recognition and knowing where to utilize that application. And then my challenge, it's a great question. My challenge is that they utilize it outside the field. Think about this. If you guys were all athletes, when you were 2 years old, you learned to start tying your shoes. But when you first started learning to tie your shoes, it was hard. In fact, most of you guys probably said, I quit. You looked at your mom and said, I'm never wearing shoes again. You gave up on, you didn't want to do it, but you kept going. 18, 19, 20-year-old athletes in the dugout. Do they think about tying their shoes? No. Subconscious, back there. It's habit. We don't give a process. It's not something we think about. So trying to get these athletes to deal with the tools and applications we're doing can't just be on the field. It's got to be out there. If they practice it out there, dealing with stress, driving on the 55, 71, or 57, 20, 91, heading up to Riverside. Oh, Lord, the 10. Come on now. Practice self-talk. Don't close your eyes and use imagery. Don't do that during driving. No. But practice self-talk. Okay, practice breathing. Can we slow things down? I'm fond of saying, take life in the slow lane. So much of life goes unnoticed that not noticing becomes a habit, guys. Take life in the slow lane. What are you missing? Experience life. So hopefully that answers questions. Hopefully it answers your question. If I can get them to ponder something and then see success in it. If they see success in it, they'll stay with it. That's why baseball players don't change their socks. Yes, they're superstitious, but they were successful with those socks. So I got to put those socks back on. If they're successful with the psychological tool or application, they're going to use it. They're going to find a way to apply it. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. Thank you. And
Okay, you're welcome.
I didn't know you guys were on the field as well. Super interesting.
It is interesting. And that's where the real work takes place. I mean, realistically, how are they able to apply it? Okay, just because you're in an 0-2 count doesn't mean you're going to strike out. But think about it. We've all stood at the back of the volleyball line and said, don't miss this serve. What do? You miss the serve. Self-talk. Come on now. Okay. But they don't know that's what that is. They don't know what they're doing. Working with parents. I do parent sessions for clubs. Mom and dad are sitting in the stands with arms folded the whole time. What message are you sending your son or daughter? Well, no, I'm proud of them. Yeah, okay. What message are you sending? Or you hear mom in the back row going, or better yet, you work with the coach. I'm working with a coach right now going, do you know the messages you're sending through your body? Through your nonverbals? Pretty powerful stuff. So, good question. Anything else? Fascinating. I could stay here all day. I know you don't want me to, but I could.
I don't. Does anyone else have any questions? It doesn't seem like it.
I have a bunch, but I'm just going to email him.
Email me. Let me know. We'll set up a Zoom call. Just mano a mano. Don't worry about it. Be happy to.
That was exactly what I was thinking, Tim. Like, I got a few that I'm going to email you as well.
That's totally fine.
Love it. Well, then I will wrap it up here because thank you guys for sticking around. I know we usually wrap these up at 5 o'clock, but obviously it's super stimulating. We were learning a lot. We couldn't say no to Dr. G. You were definitely a friend of Psi Beta. Thank you so much for sharing your insights, your wisdom, and answering our awesome questions from everyone else. But that's going to call it for today, guys. I'm going to go ahead and adjourn this meeting at 5:27. I put his email and his number in the agenda as well. So if you guys want to reach out to him directly, that information will be there for you guys. I know I will be. But yes, let's give him all a big thank you. Thank you, Dr. G. Really appreciate it.
Hey, good luck, guys. Keep working. Don't quit. Don't give up.
Love it. And we will see you all in 2 weeks. And maybe, you know what, I'm thinking what we'll do, Dr. G, I'll email you, but I'd love to have another session, another Zoom like this, and maybe have a few members outside of this meeting. That way we can all hop in and ask you some more questions about it.
Oh, be happy to, and look forward to coming and seeing you guys all in person too.
Love it. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. That's it for today. Everyone have a good rest of your day, good rest of your week, and we will see you all in 2 weeks. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. G.
Thank you.
My pleasure. You guys have a great day.
Be a baseball star. I'm like, let's go.
Hopefully I motivated you. That's great.
Bye,
You
guys.
guys have a good day.
Great talking to you.